Hi guys, my name is Nicole,
And I'm Sydney.
and we're both one-year transfers I'm from a community college, and
I'm from Cal Poly Pomona, a four-year university.
so today we're going to be talking about transferring into a top 20 university, specifically UCLA
And USC.
So the processes for transferring into a UC and a private are pretty different. So we're going to split up the video, one for UC, specifically UCLA, and then one for USC.
Okay, we're basically going to give a little background about where we come from and like what high school. So we're from the Bay Area, and the school we went to is straight in the middle of Silicon Valley. So as you can probably tell, is very competitive.
Yeah, a lot of people went to prestigious universities right outside or after high school, so it wasn't really common, like the pathway that we both chose. But we're doing this video just to show you guys that for any high school senior right now, if you didn't get into the college of your dreams, it's okay. There's different ways to do it, and a lot of them are actually, they save a lot of money, and it's actually pretty easy to do as long as you do your research and you plan properly.
Oh, also a really big note is that if you already go into college knowing that you want to transfer out, don't go to a four-year university. It's not worth the money. Go to community college because it'll be worth it.
Yeah, and specifically for community colleges, if you live in California, community colleges, they're pretty much made just as a pathway to a UC. So they pretty much prioritize community college transfers over other four-year transfers. So keep that in mind. First, we're going to start off talking about specifically the UC system. We'll give a timestamp on where the private, we're just going to talk about USC. But for the UC system, so basically the most important thing for transferring into a year is, number one, you have to figure out what your major is. For people who are planning to do more of like the STEM stuff, like bio, engineering, all that kind of stuff, it's going to be a lot harder to transfer into UC as a one-year student, so just keep that in mind. I specifically don't know the prereqs exactly because I majored in psychology, so if you're going to be more in STEM, just keep in mind that it's probably most likely not going to happen transferring in a year just because of the amount of prereqs you're going to have. But for me, in psychology and other like arts and humanities, some college letters and science, like sociology, there were not that much prereqs for me to finish. On top of that, I was able to use a lot of my AP credit where I was able to transfer that and use that as and send those to the schools. So after looking at what kind of major you want to choose, make sure to choose something that doesn't have a lot of prereqs. The next important thing to do is to look at your AP credit, which you took in high school. If anyone is like still in high school right now, freshman, sophomore, junior, try to take as much prereqs as you possibly can. It's going to make it easier for you to transfer because a lot of the credit can transfer over, which will make your life a lot more easier when you're at community college because that means you don't have to take as much classes. So for me, I had about 16 units in AP credits. I'm on the quarter system, so I'll be talking quarter units. So I had about 16, and then I basically took about 4 or 5 classes each quarter. So that all amounted to 90 units, which is the minimum unit credits that you need to transfer. There's also a cap. I'm not sure about that, but you don't need to worry about the cap, especially as a one-year transfer. So the best tool for you as a transfer from community college is assist.org. Assist.org is basically a site where it lists every single California community college there is, and then the specific prereqs that you need from your community college that will transfer over to UC. So it's the best tool to use. It's the only way where you can really figure out what specific classes you need. Just keep in mind right now that it is outdated. They are making a new assist, which will be coming out, I heard, the next couple months, or it might have come out now, I'm not too sure. But just keep in mind that some of it's outdated, so they'll give you a list of rules, and for each specific UC on their site, you have to search it up, but they'll give you some rules. Like for UCLA, they said that they will honor the 2018 or 2016 assist, so just make sure that everything is up to date. So check that on each UC site. You have to search and Google that. So after you look on assist, look at all the classes that you have and what AP credit transfers over for that. So I know for some AP classes, not all of them are going to work. So if you're like an econ major, for example, taking AP econ is not going to count for your major. So you need to it'll transfer over for credit, like 4 units or 8 units or whatever, but it's not going to count for your major. So therefore, if you try to use AP econ instead of taking a class at community college, they're not going to accept you for that. Next, really important thing about transferring as a 1 year is kind of figuring out your class schedule. And I recommend doing it for every single, so if you're on the semester, do it for your fall and spring semesters. I personally was on a quarter, so I planned out everything from summer to spring. So I did summer, fall, winter, spring. And if you're on a semester, make sure you also do your winter intersession if your community college allows you to do that. Or try to find it somewhere else where you can do it online, because you're going to want to take as much classes as you need, because remember, we need to have either 60 semester units or 90 quarter units to be able to be eligible to transfer. So personally for me, I started in the summer, so I took about 3 classes then, and in the fall I took 4 classes, in the winter I took 5 classes, and in spring I took 5 classes again, and including with my AP credit, I ended up at exactly 90 units. Remember, that's the minimum you need. So I recommend planning it out yourself. I wouldn't recommend going to your community college counselor. From what I found and from what a lot of other people said, they don't really help you, and they don't really know exactly like what to do a lot of the time. So just do your own research, which is really important, because a lot of times they give you wrong information. So plan out all your classes for each semester or quarter. Make sure that all the classes that you're going to be taking transfer, because there are community college classes that do not transfer to UCs. Make sure that you're hitting at least 60 semester or 90 quarter units. And make sure that you're checking your APs and if it matches, and if you are allowed to use that for your major. Think about if you want to transfer as a 1 year, you are going to be transferring into the community, whatever school you're going to as a junior. Or for the UCs, you're going to be transferring in as a junior. So that means you're going to be overloading on a lot of classes. Even with a lot of AP credit, most likely you will be taking more than the recommended classes that you need, or they allow you at the UCs, the community colleges, sorry. So for me personally, because I had another community college that was really close to my home, and they also had online classes, so what I did was I maxed out on units for each quarter at my community college, and then I would go to the other community college and look for online classes. So I actually enrolled in 3 community colleges, so I made sure that I would have backups and I would be able to get all the classes that I need. So just as a warning, as a 1-year transfer, you're going to be taking a lot of classes, and it's going to be a lot of work, probably more than you're used to. For example, the recommended classes is 3 to 4. I took about 5 for 2 quarters. So it's going to be a lot of work, but if you really want to transfer as a 1 year, this is the only way to do it. Another really important thing to do is to look for your major's prereqs. For me, as a psychology major, I think I had 5 prereqs, but one of them was I didn't have to do because of my AP credit. So one thing that's really important that the UCs on all their sites, they like put in bold and everything, is to not leave prereqs in the spring. They say that it is okay, but from my experience and just from a lot of other people too, they really prefer you to have your prereqs done by fall. It just looks the best that way, because they don't want you to leave that many core classes like later in the year where they're not going to be able to see those grades because acceptances come out by then. So one thing that's really important, try to get all your prereqs done by fall if you can. So do them a lot in summer and fall, and then if you have to, do them in winter intersession, but really try not to leave them in spring. They say it's okay, but you have a higher chance of getting in if you finish them first and then leave all your other classes for later. The next really important thing is GPA. I would say that's probably like top 2 most important things as a transfer from anywhere. So personally, I had a 3.96 overall GPA at the end after my last quarter at community college. So I think it's really important that you look for your major and for what their 25th percentile, 75th percentile, what their average GPA and what they normally accept, and what what's like the main GPA that they accept. So personally for psychology, they normally accept really high GPAs like 4.0. So really keep that in mind when you're taking community colleges, that your GPA still matters. So really try your best to get a high GPA. Even if you're in a major that typically accepts lower GPAs, you still want to be above that, because your chances will be higher. So as a one-year transfer at a community college, your SATs, your ACTs, anything you did in high school grade-wise really doesn't matter. Extracurriculars might, but typically like test scores, all that they don't matter, other than AP. So you don't need to worry about your high school GPA. Okay, so the next really important part of the application is extracurriculars. So if you don't have the best GPA and it's kind of too late for you to bring it up, what you can do is kind of make up for that lower GPA in other areas, so like the extracurriculars. Personally for me, I worked 2 jobs, and one of them was like private tutoring. I also had extracurriculars from high school that you're allowed to use because you're a one-year transfer, so it still pertains to you. I worked 2 jobs. I had extracurriculars from high school. I also wrote about any kind of like awards or honors that you got from high school. They all still count because you're a one-year transfer. If you're a second-year transfer, probably not. I wouldn't put that on your application. Maybe if they're really prestigious, but if you're one year, don't worry about how old they are. So just put it on your application anyways. But I think it's really important that the UCs see that you're really kind of, especially because you're going into the school as a junior, they kind of want to see that that you're doing stuff that kind of pertains to your major. So if you can, try to get internships that work around with your major. So if you don't have the best GPA, it's okay. Really try to make that up with extracurriculars. They really like seeing jobs, and they also consider that if you are working full-time jobs or multiple part-time jobs or even just one part-time job, they'll consider that into their application because it is a holistic process. They'll be like, okay, so maybe the person doesn't have the highest GPA, but oh look, we see her that she's working a full-time job too, and she has other circumstances which you can explain in your application that show that, oh, she maybe doesn't have enough time for school, but she's still trying her best and doing all this and like, you know, finishing all these classes, and she has an internship or whatever. So it's a holistic process, so they're going to take in a lot of other factors. So don't worry if your GPA isn't the highest. There are other ways to kind of make up for that. For one thing, for UCLA, if you really want to bring up your chances of acceptance there, is to be TAP certified or honors, or be in your honors program. I personally wasn't because my community college did not offer TAP. And for their honors program, I got into it, but there was a lot of other circumstances why I didn't want to join, just because like they required you to have do certain number of honors classes to be in the honors program, but I didn't want to do that. But if your community college offers being TAP certified, I definitely would take that opportunity, because UCLA admissions, they really like to see that you're TAP certified. They also, if you are TAP certified, that gives you a chance of choosing a second major on your application. So if you don't get into your first one, if it's like really impacted, you can choose a second one that's not as impacted, and they'll most likely accept you under that major. You can always try switching out once you get in. But yeah, if you really have the opportunity, I'd definitely take it. And if you have honors, also try that out just to see, because if anything, it's going to make your application look better. So therefore, it kind of raises your chances of acceptance. Also, just for reference, and just kind of as like a warning, do not apply to the on the UC application thinking only going to apply to like UCLA or like the top schools like Berkeley and UCLA. I definitely would apply to all of the other UCs. And if you can get a fee waiver, that definitely will help you too. But definitely apply to all the other UCs as a backup, just because it's such a holistic process. You can have super high GPA and all that, but you never know. They could reject you and accept someone else just for a different reason. But like, I definitely would have other UCs as a backup. So for reference, I also got into UC Irvine, UC San Diego, UC Santa Barbara, UC Davis, and then I was rejected from Santa Cruz and Berkeley. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because just because you get into UCLA doesn't mean you're getting into Berkeley or all the other schools. And also, I was rejected from UC Santa Cruz, and it really shows the importance of prereqs, because I think for psychology, they required you to finish calc. I did not finish calc, so I think that's probably the reason why I was rejected. I'm not too sure. I didn't really look into UC Santa Cruz that much. I just applied just for a backup. So just really keep that in mind, that missing one prereq can really make or break your acceptance. It really is important. So really make sure that you are finishing your prereqs, and also don't have too high expectations, because yes, I did have a high GPA and I have extracurriculars and all that, but I wasn't don't be overly confident about your acceptances. I mean, I was rejected from Berkeley, but I got into UCLA. So you never really know because it is a holistic process. Another really important thing is IGETC, which is basically all your, it's a list of GEs that you have to finish. This is specifically for the UC schools. It doesn't count for like CSUs or anything like that. Well, it does, but you have another requirement. But I'm going to be talking specifically just for UCs. So IGETC is really important that you finish. I think there are different pathways, like for example, Berkeley has a different pathway if you're in colleges of letter and science, but if you want to apply to all the other UCs too, best option is for you to finish IGETC. And if you're in a major that isn't like engineering, I think engineering has a different pathway. IGETC, you're going to actually have a lot of overlap with your major prereqs, so don't worry that you're going to have to be taking a lot of extra classes on top of prereqs or anything. It's all going to be okay. It's going to help you in the end. So really make sure that you look at your school's list of IGETC, because each school kind of has a different, list different classes, because obviously each community college has different types of classes. But basically, you're going to have to finish, like for example, you're going to have to do at least one math course, like 4 arts and humanities, and the list goes on. But really make sure that you finish that, because schools really want to see that you are done with your IGETC. Not common for them to not want to see it, so make sure you're on top of that and you're getting all of your general education classes done. Okay, so just to recap everything, I would say the most important thing is that you are finishing all your classes so that you at least hit the 90 minimum quarter units or 60 semester units. So you really have to be on top of your class, like all the classes that you need. Really plan out your whole entire year. Make sure that you have your backups for your classes, that you're taking classes that actually count towards transfer. Make sure that you're looking at your AP credits, because some AP credits do not transfer. Some AP credits have limitations on how you can use them, and some of them, if you take a certain class, it kind of cancels out the other AP units that you have. So really look into the rules, because each specific major and each school has a different set of rules. So if you, so you really want to make sure that all your AP credits are okay, and also just overall really be on top of like your whole transfer process. You really don't have time to slack off, because you only have 1 year to do it. If you're doing a 1-year transfer, you only have 1 year to do it. Really try not to let your GPA go down. Really try to do a lot of other extracurriculars that really show them that you're really you're trying to branch yourself out, but you're also school orientated with your GPA. So that would be like my overall advice. So just really, and don't forget to make sure that you're using Assist, and also double checking on the UC sites about your major, because sometimes Assist it's not really clear and kind of outdated. But yeah, that's my overall advice. Just that really, if you're a high school senior now, that you can do a 1-year transfer. You really want to get to a certain school, to a certain UC, it is possible. So really just kind of look into all your options.
So next I'll be talking about how I transferred to USC as a sophomore. So basically I started out going to Cal Poly Pomona for my freshman year, and I didn't know that I wanted to transfer to USC until winter break, actually, because Nicole convinced me to apply, because I was talking to her and I was saying that CPP was actually not a good fit for me. So I decided to transfer in as a sophomore. So since I didn't know that I was going to transfer the next year, first semester, I was just taking classes that I thought I needed to take. So I just was taking GEs and a couple courses for my major. And at Cal Poly, I was a political science major. But I wanted to apply to USC as an international relations major, and that's what I got in as. So there was some overlap of classes, so that was beneficial to me. I was a freshman, I was going to transfer in as a sophomore. So what that means at USC is that you have you have 30 units. And so for me, because I was a semester, it's 15 semester units first semester, and then 15 semester units second semester. And then if you want to transfer in as a junior, you need to have at least 60 transferable units. Okay, so if you're planning to transfer in as a sophomore, since USC doesn't have enough information on you, they want to know more. So you need to send in your high school GPA, as well as your SAT or ACT scores, So for me, my high school GPA wasn't as great as I wanted it to be, and my SAT scores weren't the best either, but in my first semester at CBP, I managed to get a 4.0, so I think that I was able to get in because they saw like that I had an upward trend. So even if you had a low GPA and low SAT scores, don't let that discourage you from applying in as a sophomore, because I was really scared that I wasn't going to get in because of my scores, but it doesn't really matter as long as you're doing better in college and they're able to see that. Another really important factor into why I think I got in was because of extracurriculars. So in high school, I did an internship for a local assembly member. And then also in the summer, I talked about this in my application, but I hadn't done it yet. So in the summer between freshman and sophomore year, I did an internship in the Philippines that pertained towards my major. So I thought that was really beneficial as well. And I also worked summer jobs, and I had like other jobs as well. So I think just having all the extracurriculars, just like how Nicole talked about it, is really essential and beneficial to your application. Okay, so unlike the UCs, USC doesn't really have like assist. So instead, each school or like area that you live in is assigned a certain counselor. So you're given their phone number as well as like their email. So I recommend that you keep in contact with your counselor as soon as you know that you want to apply, and you just tell them like about the extracurriculars that you're doing, what course requirements that you need to do. And it's good to just keep connected with your counselor because they're actually like the link between the admissions as well as you. So whatever you're telling them, they can help tell like the admissions. So the counselors are going to be really helpful to you because, like I said earlier, there's not really like assist to tell you exactly what classes you need to take. So by calling them or emailing them, they can tell you exactly what class you need to take, when you should take them. Or I'm not actually sure if they'll tell you when you should take them, but they'll tell you what classes you need to take, and that way you'll know if the classes you are already taking is transferable. But unlike the UCs, I think USC is a little more lenient because they don't have like specific classes that you have to take. Most of them are recommended because, I mean, if you don't have those classes already, like, and you get in, it's going to cost a lot more because you're going to have to take those GEs. And like USC tuition isn't cheap. So like you kind of want to save money as well. So you want to make sure you're taking the right classes.
Okay, so sorry, our camera died, so we're just gonna film the iPhone, but whatever, it's fine. So for the UC application, we had 4 personal statements. One that's like required is like about your major and why you want to be in that major and why you want to transfer or whatever. And then the other 3 are your choice. I think there's like total 8. I think. Yeah, so,
there's 8.
Yeah, 8. So you can choose any of that. I recommend kind of choosing ones that all cover different topics. Don't choose all the same. Try not to be cliche with your personal statements. Like really try to make them unique. Don't try to make a sob story or anything. But yeah, so just try to choose like different ones that cover different topics. But we don't have like letters of rec or any of that, or turning in transcripts with your application. We turn in transcripts later once you're accepted, so don't worry about letter of rec. Also really use the additional comments to your advantage. It's really important if you want to say like why you couldn't take this prereq in fall but you're taking it in winter, and like it really lets them know that there's, you know, not everything is going to be perfect through this whole transfer process. So that's a time where you can let them know about any other issues, problems, work stuff, family stuff. That's the perfect place to do it. So really use the additional comments to your advantage.
So you need to make sure that you turn in your transcripts when you turn in your application. So they have certain deadlines that you should make sure you look at.
For I think applications open for UCs at least. I don't know about USC yet. I think they're a little bit later. So, but still kind of keep that in mind that applications are coming up, because you really want to start on your essays early. Do not leave everything to the last minute. I started them I didn't really start them early, but and I ended up turning it in the night before, or not the night before, like 2 days before. It was very stressful trying to finish 4 personal statements, and I forgot how long they are, but they're not.
And then 350 words.
Yeah, so yeah. It's like, it's really hard to kind of say that much about yourself in that short amount of words. So it's going to take a lot of effort to make them really good. I also recommend for both personal statements, you have people edit them for you, bring them to your English teachers, other teachers you have, really have a lot of people read them to you and then kind of give their feedback. So yeah, start on your essays early, especially for UC people, because applications are coming up soon, I think. As one-year transfers, also, I think it's really important you put it in your additional comments that you are a one-year transfer, which is why you're loading up on so many classes within 1 year. They're gonna figure it out eventually, but they typically don't like to see people taking that many classes each quarter or like overloading in your spring quarter. So this is a good opportunity to tell them, because you're a one-year transfer, that is why you're taking so many classes. So yeah, use your additional comments. What else?
Yeah, and then the USC application for transfers is due February 1st, I believe. That's why I was able to figure out that I wanted to transfer during winter break. So, I mean, at least if you do end up going to a four-year university and you realize first semester, okay, this isn't the right school for me, then you still have like a month to finish the application and do all of that.
Yeah, that's all for the video today. I know we could not cover everything because honestly it's a really thorough process with a lot of kind of small details, especially for the UC, because they're really strict on what you need. There's a lot of things like for AP credits, there's a lot of other small little details that I didn't mention. So if you have any other questions, you can put them down in the comments below.
Comments.
We'll try our best to answer.
In the description box, we'll put like a couple pointers and like the main points that we talked about in this video. So like you can just look on there too.
Yeah, we like timestamps.
Yeah, and then we'll put an email and then our social media, and you can just like feel free to like DM us.
Yeah, we'll try our best to answer.
Yeah,
I know there's a lot of. It's really confusing process, especially as a one-year transfer. We just don't have the time, like 2 years. Yeah. So yeah, leave us any questions. We'll try our best to answer. Even if you have like a specific major issue, I can check that for you if you have like questions about prereqs or anything. Leave that in the comments below. So
yeah, and also just like our situation like is like different. Like everyone's situation is different. So like don't think that because like we got into these schools, like oh my gosh, automatically you'll get into those schools. It like all depends on like everything that you do and like your essays, grades.
Yeah, but it'll all work out in the end.
Yeah.
You'll get into a school that you like. So yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.